Well, XRP has gone ahead and filled out that fair value gap as it headed towards equilibrium as per our expectations in the last few videos. In this video, we're going to be jumping down into the technical analysis on XRP, reviewing what's been going on most recently and what we think is potentially going to happen next. As I get into it, if you find it useful and informative, smash the like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe. Don't forget to join us down in Discord, link in the description below. Let's go ahead and get into it. XRP paired up with USDT on the spot exchange from BitGet and 1 hour chart, right? So pretty much standard kind of stuff. That's what you're going to need if you're going to want to replicate the charts in any way. So we saw this gap a while back. We can see it over here, right, when they had this large move to the downside, this imbalance in the order books, essentially too much selling pressure, not enough buying pressure, dragging the price to the downside, jumps from the low side to the bottom side before those orders can get filled out, and then finds liquidity. Basically, this is an area of representation of illiquidity, an area that has very little buying at the same time as selling was occurring. And as you can see, price wants to go back and it wants to go ahead and fill it up. And we finally hit that a couple of hours ago. So we filled it out. Okay, now we're expecting a move to the upside, so it's no surprise that we find ourselves with this fair value gap getting hit. We also see our move here to the upside, right? And this area was 50.6 to 51.378. We spoke about this yesterday, and we're looking at this as a potential structured move to the upside, but it was to use this as an anchor point. We actually broke this, so it's coincidental, okay, that the price action has rallied the way that it has done based on the analysis from yesterday, because the wave count is irrelevant. Now, it's sort of irrelevant, okay, because it's still, in my opinion, correct in the way that we potentially have a flat correction occurring, okay, and a flat correction allows the B wave to come down lower. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't give you a good accurate representation of where this should be because of that move slightly deeper than 47.439. okay, so let me show you what actually that should now look like. Okay, so if we take the high and the low here, we move this over to here, we can then actually get a position of this slightly differently, and you can see that we've already hit the expectations. There we go. Okay, this comes in at 50.047 to 50.984. Okay, and so the expectations have already kind of been met there. I still think there's more to the upside here. I don't think it's done yet. I think we are expecting to hit into the equilibrium and the higher range of this. Okay, so I'm talking more 51 cent. And the reason for that is I'm looking at this as a potential 5-wave structure coming in here. And it's possible that maybe we've already kind of finished it, but I think it's more like that. But for the most part, there is the possibility that we've kind of completed it here already. Minimum expectations have already kind of been met. So on that note, we'll know more when the price action kind of either comes down lower than the origin level here, or starts to set itself up with a different kind of structure altogether. But for the most part, we've hit the expectations on that structure there. But I would say that if we are to complete this here, then we've got to shift more to the downside afterwards. And I don't think the momentum is fully behind that just yet. That kind of gives me the hopium that we've got a little bit more in the tank. As you can kind of see on this stochastic RSI here, we're correcting down quite rapidly, which is showing a lack of selling pressure, in the same way that we moved up quite rapidly, showing a lack of buying pressure. Essentially, we aren't doing anything overly impressive if you were to zoom out. But when you zoom in, these candles stacking up look pretty good, right? They look impressive depending on the time frame that you're in. But for the most part, they're not actually that impressive. And we're correcting quite heavily. So let me show you this chart here, right? You can see that this one uses an OHLC4 stochastic RSI, and this one basically shows us with not much in the way of overbought. That gives us the idea that we still have room to the upside, whereas our closed position shows us a little bit more in the overbought. It's a little bit more sensitive to those price movements based on closed or open positions, and for the most part, this one isn't the best one for giving you that kind of representation, in my opinion. I think the OHLC4 setting, so if you go into settings of your stochastic RSI, it's this OHLC4 setting rather than the closed setting. It's this one, okay? But no, for the most part, that is what that is. Now, taking a look at this, and as I spoke yesterday, we still do have that potential move higher. We're not necessarily done just yet. Okay, so I do think that it's going to be a struggle, but we can go up to that 51. You can see it right in there. It would make this thing a giant corrective structure like so. And it would be very odd to have an irregular flat in there. So if that is the case, I would have to run this differently. I would actually have a look at this more as a correction in itself to the downside here that's probably irregular. And then we finish off with that move to the upside. But either way, depending on how you want to look at the B wave, the structure's ending points are reasonably the same. For 51.54 to 52.67, that gets you right up into this area of consolidation previously as well. It'd be interesting to see if XRP does get that run to the upside there. I'll go ahead and just leave a yellow box on here so we can kind of see where that expectation could be. Okay, so we can see the three-wave pattern. Now, if I take this to the daily time frame, you can see that we're in this expansion. So we're talking about this move to the upside, but this one hasn't been overly strong. And it means that although we had a load of momentum to support the idea of a big break to the upside, that momentum has slowly started to seep away. We can see we've still got momentum here on our daily time frame. That's okay, but it hasn't kind of left the gates in a strong way. And this kind of gives me the idea that we are probably going to struggle a little bit. But we'll see how that one plays out. On the weekly time frame, it doesn't really matter. It can go either way. We're just kind of bouncing around in the mid-range, okay? From a monthly time frame, we're almost overbought, so not strong there either. 16 hours is almost overbought, 12 hours is overbought, 8 hours is overbought, 4 hours is overbought. And so as such, we have to consider that maybe we're going to see a significant pull down before we actually continue that run upwards. I still think there's more room here to the upside, but it's not giving me the idea that we are in a strong pattern. Let me show you something else that I've noticed in the price chart. Okay, I'm going to remove these because I think they're actually no longer important to us. But if I come in here and I just draw in the trend line to the upside like so, okay, and I draw one in over here, you can start to see that we're in this bearish situation. We would look at this as a potential bear flag, but more specifically from an Elliott wave, we look at it as a B wave movement because it does show us with this idea of this break to the downside. Okay, higher highs and higher lows have a tendency to want to break down, whereas if we have lower highs and lower lows, well, they want to kind of break upwards, and we can see them in there. Okay, so we're in this bear flag situation, essentially, a situation where we find ourselves with the higher highs and the higher lows, and they want to break on down versus the ones that actually go in the opposite direction. As you can kind of see here, higher highs, higher lows, breakdown. Higher highs, higher lows, potential breakdown. Okay, whereas lower highs and lower lows break up. So knowing this and seeing this on the daily time frame, it kind of makes me a little bit nervous. It makes me nervous because we haven't seen great momentum shifting on the smaller time frames, and well, we can of course just drop down here and continue this move to the downside. Of course, you know, the fundamentals of the lawsuit are going to help change things a little bit, and I will kind of just point out again, guys, we're actually holding up incredibly well despite a lot of these movements in the XRP price action. It's actually held up incredibly well. We're in a ranging market. We're not exactly doing anything out of the ordinary. And we've been stuck in this range pretty much since the 29th of March, right? So this movement that we're seeing here is just bouncing between the highs and the lows. So this move to the downside would just be another fantastic opportunity to get into XRP before that lawsuit comes to a close, right? I think that's what this ranging market is doing. It is basically just trading sideways and waiting for the news that Ripple win or that there is a settlement. I don't think that anyone on this planet can actually logically think that the SEC can win. So those are the two outcomes I see. And for the most part, I think price action is literally just bouncing around, going sideways, waiting for that. And that gives us accumulative opportunities to accumulate more XRP if we wanted to. Okay, so for the most part, that's kind of where my thoughts are with this one. I think we have the potential for a smaller move to the upside, but ultimately, I'm probably thinking that on a macro scale, we now need to see some form of correction, and that'll be the opportunity to kind of get back into XRP. But we've kind of followed what we've been talking about for the last few days. We've kind of moved up, still a little bit more to the upside on the smaller time frames, but ultimately, I think we're probably going to have to revisit the low 40s once again. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I'm going to leave this one there. Hit the like button if you have enjoyed or found this useful. Smash the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and join us down in Discord, link in the description below. Until the next one though, guys, have a fantastic day.
We are not financial advisors. None of what we have communicated verbally or in writing here should be considered as financial advice. It is not. Do your own research before investing in any digital asset or affiliate offers, and understand that investing in any crypto is risky. If you do, you need to be prepared to lose your entire investment. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. All our videos are strictly personal opinions. Please make sure you do your own research and never take our opinions for financial guidance. There are multiple strategies, and not all strategies fit all people. Our videos are not financial advice.